Hey, mighty good friends. This is Amy Temperley back with a mighty good conversation with one of our event hosts that you can find at amightygoodtime.com. I have with me today the lovely Joan Lambert. Joan is with Amava, so she's going to tell us a little bit more about that. Joan is a former attorney. She has worked in the private and nonprofit sector and has served on the board of several nonprofits and is the co-founder of the Preeclampsia Foundation. So that's very interesting. She is a certified retirement coach and has spearheaded the curriculum development of the Amava Designing Your Next series. So we'll talk about that. And then she's also mentors college students and has a huge passion for education and how education can create long-term social change. So thank you so much for being with us today. We're really glad you're here, Joan.
Oh, it's so nice to be here.
Awesome. Well, let's start with our first question, which is tell us about Amava and what you actually do and what's so great about your programming.
So let's see, I'll start with what is Amava. Amava is a site, and our mission really is about building connection through learning. We like to say our motto is passionate people teaching lifelong learners. And so really it's a place, a website, but it's a place where people can come together to teach each other and learn from each other. So a lot of times the same people will actually take classes, but also become teachers.
That's amazing. And so you're actively reaching out to people that are interested in sharing their own knowledge.
Absolutely. In fact, I am a teacher. We call them guides at Amava. And through the classes that I've taught, we've actually found a number of people who are now on the site leading their own classes.
Oh, that's amazing. That's exciting that people have found a new purpose. We're always talking about purpose and meaning along with staying active. It's so important.
Yes, and we talk about that a lot in a lot of our classes, and particularly the one that I teach. And it's so interesting because I was actually looking at some of the things that are on your site, and similar to one of the recent interviews that you did with a company that was doing live small group fitness classes. And, Amava is doing something kind of similar with all kinds of different classes. And, so many online classes are just where you sit and watch a video, and there's just no interactive component. And there's so much research out there that shows that people learn better when there's interaction, when they can talk to people, when they can communicate with the teacher. And so we really believe this at Amava, and that's why we do our classes live and in small, mostly in small groups.
That's fantastic. Well, and just that socialization piece, again, we talk about it all the time, is so important for all of us to be able to interact, especially if we're still, isolating. But even then, and you and I were talking about this prior to the recording, how the internet has allowed us to have exposure to all different kinds of people and all kinds of different thoughts. And so to be able to actually talk to the people in your groups is kind of a cool treat.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I truly love about Amava and what we're doing. I was telling you this before. So just as an example, the class that I created is called Designing Your Next. And I am a certified retirement coach. And so this class it's really for people who are still working, but thinking about retiring, or maybe they've recently retired and they're trying to figure out what to do next. And one of the things that is so great about, well, not just this class, but all our classes, is that people really learn from each other. I mean, I feel like I'm the instructor. And so, of course, I do have a curriculum that I've developed and exercises that I take people through. But every single group of people is unique. And so mine is an 8-week session. But I mean, every time I feel like I'm learning things from the people in the class as well.
That's amazing. Yeah, I found that years ago. I ran support groups for the Alzheimer's Association, and the power of people bringing their experience and knowledge and things that they can share, tips and tricks, all that stuff to the table is so helpful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just this whole idea that, I mean, it's become a buzzword, but it's really true, this idea of lifelong learning, and that, you are never too old to learn something new. And so I feel like that's why I love my job. I'm, constantly learning something new.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about when you think about active aging, what do you think are the important components of that?
Gosh, and I mean, I've done a lot of reading on this, as I'm sure you have. I really think that if I had to kind of boil it down to the top things, I really feel that staying connected to other people is just critical. I mean, there's more and more research coming out about that. And the one thing that the pandemic has showed us is that this connection to people can also be done online. I mean, it's people of all ages, have gotten proficient at using technology, using their phone, using their computer, and connecting online.
Yeah.
And I think that, a couple other things in terms of, staying active and engaged, as you age. I think figuring out what your purpose is. And, I teach this, or I talk about this a lot in my class. And I think to some people this sounds intimidating, but really you don't need this, you don't need to be Mother Teresa. You don't need to be out there curing cancer, right? Your purpose is just like what you're excited about, like what, gets you out of bed in the morning. And this can be, this is different for everyone. I mean, this, for some people, this might be, helping take care of their grandchildren. This might be, giving back and becoming a mentor to younger people. I mean, those are just examples. This could be, sharing something that you're really excited about, sharing one of your passions with other people. I mean, this doesn't have to be, some huge thing. Like, I think some people just really get, when you say that, they think, oh, I don't have a purpose, but everyone does. And it's just figuring out what that is. And then I would say, oh, sorry, I was just going to say the last thing I think is just continuing to learn new things, like keeping your body and mind engaged. And I think, again, the research is just showing how important both those things are.
Yeah, I can imagine you're designing your next series is really important. I'm working with a private client right now, coaching her who's planning for retirement, and that
Mhm.
purpose piece is one of her big concerns right now. Is she's always worked in the nonprofit sector, she's always been a giver, and she is scared about, what does that mean when she stops working? And through some, conversations and projects like I'm sure you do with your clients all the time, she all of a sudden just one day popped up and said, I'm really looking forward to gardening. And we started exploring this huge thing. And now she's taking a gardening class and looking at becoming a master naturalist. And it was
Wow.
like all of a sudden we found this thing, but it was sometimes you have to talk through it and actually actively engage with that conversation. And classes like yours can be very helpful in that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I have people do is actually like a brainstorming activity for just sort of all the different things that they're curious about. And just like how you were talking about your client with gardening, I've had people actually kind of figure out things, just by doing like that kind of brainstorming activity. Um, and just,
Powerful.
yeah, like figuring out, like what did you used to like when you were growing up? Like what are the things that, intrigue you? What are you curious about? What do you want to learn more about?
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Thank you for doing that because it helps people think through that. A lot of time, as we're looking at the world around us and aging is changing so much and, we're living longer and we're living healthier. What excites you about the future of aging?
Wow, so many things. But I would say one thing is just that, like you and I are sort of roughly the same generation, I think. Our generation is really the first generation that has just had this incredible increase in longevity. I mean, I was actually looking at these statistics recently about when Social Security was first implemented, which was roughly 100 years ago. And Social Security, age has always been about 65. But at the time it was implemented, the average lifespan was 62.
Oh my goodness, I had no
This
idea it was that low.
this is true. And so think about, like now, so many people, may retire or leave full-time work and do something else and have literally decades left to, whether that's, work part-time or volunteer or travel or, like people have this just incredible amount of almost kind of extra time that previous generations didn't have.
That is a really good point. And wow, that tells you something about the differences in Social Security and where we are now with that situation.
No, absolutely. Well, and also just the amount of like options for continuing to learn and lifelong learning are just, increasing exponentially. I mean, there are, as you know, because you have a lot of these things on your site.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about either some programs you're excited about with Amava that are coming up or any new directions you might be headed?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the great things I think about Amava is that a lot of times, like I said, we will have people that come through our classes and then realize that they are also, excited about teaching other people something. So we are adding new classes all the time. Some of the new ones that we've just added, let me think. And I love, taking some of these new classes. So we have a new improvisational cooking class that we just added. And this is
Interesting.
actually led by a corporate executive who just happens to love cooking.
Love it.
We have a new one about called Can I Retire Yet? And that one is actually led by this wonderful guy who originally came to us through one of my classes. And he had been a healthcare executive, but he went back in his mid 60s to become a financial advisor.
Wow. Second career. A
Second
lot of people.
career, exactly. And we have, let's see, we have a new class on gratitude journaling. We have a lot of writing classes that are new, and those have started to become very popular. Like memoir writing.
That's great. It's exciting. I think I tell everybody I talk to that I go in and I try out lots and lots of classes because
Oh,
I am a total lifelong learner and I'm excited about having the chance to have more free time to do this when I hit my later years. So
exactly. I mean, it's honestly, it's one of the fun things is that I get to, try some of these classes. And some of them are just wonderful.
that's great. Any final tips for our audience on how to live fulfilled, engaged lives?
Gosh, I would say, adopt a growth mindset, which is, kind of, you are never too, you can constantly be learning new things, start a new hobby, take a class on something you haven't done before. Um, make a plan for how you want to spend your time. Be intentional about it. Don't just kind of let things happen. Um, there's a quote actually that I use in my class that I love, which is about how people can sometimes spend more time planning a 1 week vacation than, what they want to see and do in the major areas of their life.
Wow. Wow. It's a really, really good point. And it makes me think that would be a great class to teach is making a almost a recreational lifelong learning plan for yourself. How to go about that. So maybe that's an upcoming class we can work on.
Exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, and then the last thing, which is kind of, central to what Amava is all about, is just make sure to stay connected to other people.
Yeah. Thank you so much, everybody. This is Joan from Amava. They have amazing programs you're going to find when you go to mightygoodtime.com. You can search the name for Amava. I will also put a link in the description so that you can get to their activities. And there is a combination of free and membership-based type activities. You can do a free trial. So get in there, play around. Great provider. I've really enjoyed getting to know everybody at Amava and excited to highlight your activities. So I hope you have a mighty good day, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks so